All right, part two with Jonny Rios here. We're going to start talking about Chambers now.
Cool.
You booked the role.
Yes.
What was it like when you actually booked it? How long between your audition from hell, rather, because of how sick you were?
Right.
Did you actually find out you got the part, and when did you start filming?
Yeah. So there was like a few week break, and usually when I'm used to getting feedback, and so I didn't get any for this one. And
Oh, really? Not even
yeah,
nothing.
I wasn't getting anything, and so I wind up just saying it's gone. It's gone. It's whatever. I just wanted to hear something, notes. That I can, particularly like from Alfonso and Leah and stuff like that, so I can hopefully use those and become a better artist. And so I didn't really hear anything, and so I wind up watching the basketball game with my best friend Steven, who I talked about earlier, and I was pissed off because LeBron James was losing against the Golden State Warriors, and I was just like super pissed. I was like, damn it, man! Like, why is this happening? and then I wound up getting a call from my managers at the time at like midnight. Jonny, they want you for the role. Here's blah 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 blah. And I wound up being like, oh my god! I was sitting outside. I was like, oh my god! I started crying, and then. All that concluded after that conversation. He's like, we're going to talk more about tomorrow about details and stuff. So, hung up with him. I called my dad, I believe, and I was like, are you with mom? He's like, yeah, I'm with mom right now. He's like, is everything okay? Because it's like midnight.
Yeah,
and I'm outside in New York
starting
City.
it like that, yeah.
Yes, I'm in New York City. He's like, yeah. And I called him. I was like, I got the part. And they were like, yeah. I was crying and everything like that. I was like, I did it, Dad. Like, I did it. Like, I did it, Mom. Like, this is what I've been
awesome.
Busting my ass for 5 years.
I'm sure they were probably cried and were so proud too,
yeah,
right?
They were so proud of me. And then with those tears, after I was done with that conversation, I walk in and he's like, whoa. Steven was like, what's going on? I was like, I got the part. He's like, what? Which one? I was like, Chambers. He's like, oh.
That's funny.
And it was just wild. It was a wild thing. And
well, it was cool that you were able to celebrate it with somebody in person.
Yeah, with my best friend who I took my first ever acting class with, and my parents who have been nothing but supportive the entire time. It was like the most beautiful, organic moment that I could have asked for.
That's amazing.
I could have easily been alone if I didn't have supportive, parents. I could have easily been alone if I didn't have a close friend who has a lot of faith in
Absolutely,
me. But I had both of those things.
Sitting there eating ramen noodles and
and
water, right?
Sleeping on a train or something.
Yeah.
I'm like, I was super lucky, and so that happened, and we did the paperwork, and they rushed me to Albuquerque.
So you started taping almost immediately then, once you were offered the part?
It was like a week or 2 weeks.
That's
like
a lot.
Pretty quick.
Did you know how long you were going to be out there when you were cast?
I knew I was going to be there till September. We started June, I believe, is when I first went out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but when I found out and we closed the deal and everything, I was like the next week or maybe 2 weeks, I don't know, that we flew. They just flew me out there, and I walked on set to do like wardrobe and hair and makeup the day before, like I started filming, just to kind of like, do all the stuff that they needed.
Right.
And I walked on set and saw Alfonso, and he's Jonny Rios, and it was just different because before I went in there, with the food poisoning and being nervous and stuff like that, and all the different emotions combined, and now I was looking at him like, this is my director. And I was looking at Leah, I was like, this is my boss. She's executive producer and a writer, like, and I get to collaborate with these people, and I'm looking around at all the people that are working on set, and I'm like, all the crew members and PAs, everybody, and I'm like, I get to work with these people. And I've met the other actors, and I was just like, it's happening. That's it. Like, this is it. Like, we're really doing it. And from that, it was just about the grind. It was just like, let's get it done. Let's do my best work possible, and let's make everyone else's job easier, because it's hundreds of people on set. So it's like making sure that they get home as quick as possible to their families, and making sure that everybody's happy with my work.
And now we know this is on Netflix. We know that it all dropped at once. But for those who maybe not have seen all of them, or since it just dropped a week ago, let's talk a little bit about. Did you film in order? Did you
Yeah.
So it was episode 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
So you weren't doing all your shots for however many episodes or for the whole season. Okay.
No. We filmed in order, so I was doing a lot of flying back and forth.
Oh, you didn't stay when you.
No, I didn't stay there permanently. I was doing a lot of flying back and forth, and for.
Did that wear on you a little?
It did. I wouldn't want to do it again, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
It was a lot. I mean, I hate flying, one. I'm not as terrified as flying as I used
As
to
you
be.
were, yeah.
I can get on a flight and just, be uncomfortable, but I'm not like having a panic attack like I was.
Right.
But also, it was just like a lot of back and forth, waiting to hear when I'm next filming. Sometimes there were, super last minute, as all productions have. And, where they would call me and say, we need you on a flight tonight. It's
Right.
like, okay, I'm there. But yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot.
And also, you couldn't do anything really here because you couldn't start going out for other roles. And
Yeah.
I mean, that could have been contract-wise too.
Yeah.
You may not have been able to. But
And I would have been down to do that, but a part of me would have been down to do that. But a part of me, the biggest part of me, and what I knew was best is like, this is my first project. I'm really passionate about this part. I'm really passionate about about the whole production as a whole. Like, let me just focus on this. Even though I had a lot of downtime here and there,
Right.
it was more about like, let me just regroup so I can bring the best of myself to set the next
plus,
time
it's
I'm
a
on.
huge role on a huge new show.
Yeah.
It's not like a one-off guest star.
Yeah.
And, you really wanted to immerse yourself in the world. So.
Yeah, and the character's incredibly layered.
Yeah.
Very,
Absolutely.
very layered. There's a lot of mystery to him. There's a lot of kind of, you see what you get, and then like if you dig a little bit deeper, you start realizing that, he's not just a popular kid, in school that is like flirtatious with this. Like, he's very sensitive, and he's very, he's very just protective and living with a lot of regret. And yeah.
That's
There's
awesome.
a lot of layers to him. So
Yeah,
it's a challenge,
absolutely.
but it was fun.
So, any mishaps or any fun things that happen on set? I know you filmed in the desert, so that must have presented its own challenges.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, at first when I got there, Albuquerque is such a beautiful city. Like, it's incredibly beautiful over there, and it's been expanding so much because Netflix is like buying studios and stuff. So it was weird, but it was weird for me to go there because I've never been on the West Coast beside that the
That one
audition.
fantastic trip to
Yeah,
California.
the perfectly
the relaxing,
yeah, exactly.
feet up kind of trip.
Chilling
we
in the
had.
beach, yeah, the perfect LA trip, so I wind up, I was going there and it was just in the middle of the desert and where we were filming a lot of the stuff, and we were filming at this like beautiful school, and so it was just kind of like, trying to feel everything out. I miss it every day though. Albuquerque was incredible. I miss it I love Albuquerque. And the whole experience as a whole. But yeah, it was a bit strange at first, and yeah, it was some long nights. But what we were able to create was this tribe, this team where we were all doing the same thing, and none of us really were from that area.
Right.
At least like the not artistic, sorry, the actors. Some crew members and stuff were from there, but for the most part, like the actors, director, and filmmakers and stuff, we were all, from somewhere else. So we
Right.
all came together to support each other, and there was a lot of nights of us hanging out and going out to dinners and, days of thrift shopping and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
it was pretty awesome, but
That's
it was
cool.
a little, we were all, out of our element.
So you almost bond even quicker because you're all kind of out there alone.
Yeah.
All of you together collectively
Yeah.
are kind of alone.
Yeah, absolutely. Like when we saw each other, it's like, okay, another member of the team. It's like immediately one of these, you know what I mean?
Did you become particularly close to anyone in particular? Or did
Yeah.
you pal around with Nicholas a
Yeah,
lot?
I hung around with Nicholas a lot. I hung around with, we all hung out a lot. Nicholas was, we call him Nick, but he was the main, one of the main guys I hung out with the most. But I got very close in particular, who are now like my big brother and my brother, Griffin Powell, who plays TJ. That's, I talk to him all the time, and Marcus Lavoie, who plays Big Frank. Those are like, that's like my big brother right there, and I was just talking to him on my way over here.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I got very close with them, and they're incredible on the show, and it's both like their first big gig as well. So it's
Right.
like we all experienced it all together, and we all had each other's back. So yeah, I got very close with them. They're awesome.
I was reading another interview with you earlier today, and you were speaking about the diversity of the cast and how important that is to have representation of different cultures and different nationalities out there. Was that something that was always important to you?
Absolutely.
And did it become even more of a focal point once you got this project and
Yeah.
saw who you'd be working with?
Yeah, I think it's crazy now that I keep talking about it, realizing things that I knew, but now I'm speaking them out into the universe. Like, Ravi is so close to me for many reasons. You know, he's one of the few people of color in this very upscale, rich school, it's Crystal Valley High School. And I experienced similar things. You know, I lived in New York for the first like 8 years of my life, but I was young, you know. But when I moved to Florida, my parents wanted everything for me, so I went to, my high school in particular was a pretty nice high school, and I was one of the few minorities in that school. And I felt I felt for Ravi, and then hopefully, you know, and then became him while I was working with, you know, working on set. But diversity has always been a huge thing for me because it's something that I lacked growing up, or my environment lacked growing up.
Right.
You know, I grew up in Tampa, Florida, which a lot of people don't think is the South, but it's the South.
Yeah.
It's the South, you know, and there's a lot of beautiful things, and there's some, you know, unfortunate things that happen. So whenever I booked this project, when I saw the people that were attached to it, I started looking them up on like Instagram and stuff, because this was before they put it up on IMDb, and everybody I looked up was like, oh, dope.
Yeah.
Next person, oh shit, no, never seen her before.
Right.
This, you know, it's like, oh, this guy, oh, and then when I met him, I was like, we are literally like a motley crew.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
like absolutely just, and I was like, this is what I'm talking about, and it's because of what Leah Rachel was able to create, and Alfonso, and the, you know, and the other writers of the show, Randy, who, you know, Travis Jackson, you know, who are incredibly, you know, gifted, and Netflix. I mean, it was Netflix for pioneering this project of being like, we are gonna create jobs that are positive roles for people of color.
What I like about the project itself is there are a bunch of different nationalities, but it's not about that. It's not, oh, look, here's Robbie, the Spanish guy. He must be in a gang. Here's
Exactly.
Simone,
Exactly.
is that the African American character?
No, her name's well, she plays Yvonne, but her name's Kiana.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Kiana
it's not
Simpson.
like, oh, this is going to be a stereotypical African American role.
Yeah.
Here's going to be a Native American lead, but you know, it's going to be, it's just, it doesn't matter what you are.
Right.
It's like they cast the best actors for the role, and it happened to fall into a diverse cast, which is amazing.
Right.
And it's so nice to not be beaten over the head with it.
Right.
Because when you watch a show, or you want to watch somebody for the talent and not be like, oh, this is token for this is token for that.
Right.
Like it shouldn't be about that, and that's what this show does so beautifully.
Right.
Is it's not about that.
Right.
It's just a bunch of talented actors telling a story and visually telling a great story, a scary story, freaky, you know, that kind of thing. But it's not about anything below the surface in terms of that kind of thing.
Right. It's like, you know, for, you know, Marcus's character, Big Frank, and Sasha and TJ, who are Native American, they aren't running around on horses with fucking spears.
Right.
You know what I mean? And me being Hispanic and first generation, I'm not dealing drugs or
and being
my
a gang
parents
member,
are successful working, you know, working class, you know, Americans, or you know, from Latin America, and like, they aren't drug trafficking or doing any of that bullshit. And Yvonne, you know, who Kiana plays, we call her Kiki, but she's not gangbanging because she's black. You know what I mean? Like, she's a smart, super driven, very protective, very loyal, lovable friend, like that got your back. You know what I mean?
100%.
And so there is no stereotypes, and I read that in the pilot, because we started getting the scripts as we were doing the episodes, or you know, a bit before. But I was reading, I was like, this is just real stuff going on, you know, and how everyone's dealing with what happened, you know, with both Becky and with Sasha, you know.
That's the kind of thing you have to worry about too. As an actor, you don't want to get pigeonholed as the drug dealer because you're Hispanic, or the gangbanger, or the, you know what I mean? So it's like, this isn't something that would in any way, shape, or form count as a pigeonholing type of role. Yeah. And that's great, especially for your first project. That's phenomenal.
I mean, this is it's literally a dream come true, because I was auditioning for a lot of stuff, and you know, I'll be completely straight up about it. A lot of the roles that I was auditioning for, I was not proud of, you know, And I remember telling, you know, my representation at the time, like, I don't want to do this. And, you know, yeah, and they agreed.
That says a
with me,
lot
you know,
about
it's
you,
like,
though, as someone who's very new,
yeah,
already sticking to your guns and making a decision of, yeah, I need to eat, and yeah, but I'm not going to sacrifice my pride or whatever you want to call it to do a role just to say I have a job.
Right.
So I think that says a huge amount about you.
Thank you. And yeah, I mean,
But this is the kind of show all shows should be like. You should be watching television. It shouldn't be. You shouldn't be thinking about anything else. If the actor is doing their job, it doesn't matter if they're like a six-armed orangutan looking person. It should be that, wow, you get lost in the show, not lost in a specific vision of somebody.
Right.
And I think this show really does that.
And I think the core of properly telling a story that means something is knowing that whether you're the writer, or whether you're a crew member or the actor, or anybody that's editor, or anybody that's working for this project, like, we are all here for service. Like, we are serving something. And so, you know, back to what we were talking about, you know, just a second ago about these roles that are stereotypes. Like, there's no service behind that.
No.
Like, we're doing the opposite.
Right.
So I always knew, like, if I'm gonna do this, if I'm gonna be busting my butt for this job and struggling to get to get a gig, like, I'm doing it for the right reasons. Because if not, I would have just went back to college and done my thing, you know. And I was like, I am a man of service, and that's something that Marcus kept on instilling in me, and I kept on, you know, and my parents and kept on thinking it, and more every day I realized, like, I'm here for service. That's my job. And this show, you can sense that. That everybody's here serving a purpose, and we're trying to tell you a story, you know, that we believe is important. So.
It's kind of a double-edged sword, I guess, if you think about it. You want people's stories of what they've gone through in their past and the struggles that they've had to be brought to light, to enlighten people. But at the same time, it could be doing a negative by putting that up on screen, and the people who are so against whatever nationality or race or sexuality, now you're just reinforcing their stereotype of them. So it's kind of like you got to really balance it out.
Right. Yeah.
Is that something that obviously I'm going to assume is a yes, is important to you going forward?
It's extremely
Since it was important to you before you were in a huge show.
Yeah, it's more so important now. I mean, you know, it's one of those things where people are watching the show and they're just thanking me, and I was talking to Griffin, who plays TJ, and he was saying the same thing, that people are just thankful that we're depicting real people, and it's like, that's why we do it, again, because, you know, we're here to serve, we're here for service, and it's extremely important. And now that I see the impact and I see the lives that I'm affecting, now I know it's just the icing on the cake of what I knew already, which is that what I'm doing can be very important, or it can do the opposite if you play into those stereotypes and you forget, you know, and you lose your artistic integrity, and so it's always been extremely important. But now that I see the other side of the coin, which is like, now that I worked on this job and seeing what people are saying, and people saying, you know, thank you, and you know, I related so much to Ravi because, you know, I'm one of the only Hispanics in my school, and I'm trying to find a way to fit in, and it's just, you know, it's beautiful stuff. And it's like, moving forward, that's what I'm about, and that's what I've always been about. But now I know that I'm right.
That's
what I'm
awesome.
doing. Yeah.
Well, guys, in part 3, we are going to delve a little bit further into what kind of projects Jonny is going to be pursuing next, and we're also going to talk a little bit about his philanthropic endeavors.
Cool.
All right.
Cool.